Good morning, dear friends, and welcome to, good morning, sorry, and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship at Stony Brook on the traditional ancestral land of the Settlecott people. All of us here in the sanctuary welcome you who are joining us online. Let's all wave to the folks, to the camera on my right. I welcome you who are here in the sanctuary and all who are attending virtually, wherever you may be this morning. My name is Gina Talento, and I am happy to be a worship associate this morning with our service leaders, Peter DeSalvo and Jason Bond. We have a very special service prepared for you today, and we are thrilled that you're joined us. Our Director of Education is Deb Little. Please plan to join us after the service for coffee and conversation. For those who are with us online, if you sign off after the service and return to our website, you will find the link for joining our small group chats. Whether here or online, you will find some friendly folks who can answer any questions you may have. We also invite you to light a candle at any time. We ask that everyone silence their devices as we begin with the sounding of the morning bell. Allow the tone to resonate within your heart and bring you fully into this moment we share together. Beautiful. Oops. I have asked Michelle Massimo to light our chalice this morning. The flaming chalice is a symbol of Unitarian Universalism. As we kindle the flame of our faith in the cup of our covenant, we read stanza 47 of the Havamal, a collection of Norse poems. I was young once, I walked alone, and I got lost on my way. I wasn't alone that I found happiness, but in good company, good friends. There is no joy in loneliness.
Good morning. In ancient times, long before the congregational religions of today, most spiritual practice was made up of mystery cults. Groups of worshipers initiated into these traditions would have secretive meetings deep in groves, grottos, temples, and other holy sites away from the bustle of everyday life. In Greece, where some of the earliest mystery traditions initiated those outside the priesthood, these places of worship were called telesteria. The most famous of which was the great Telesterion of Eleusis, dedicated to the goddess Demeter. It is from here that we seek our inspiration today. Though our stories differ, we believe things need to be experienced to be truly understood. May you experience our stories as something done, something said, and something shown.
Sacred space is not just for those of us of the physical world. We believe those of the unseen world should also be invited and made welcome. We call this hallowing, or making holy. We do this so they may also be part of the festivities and to strengthen our bonds with the unseen world in which we are connected. Hail to the spirits of the land and the sky, beings, spirits, and ancestors of goodwill. We welcome you and call upon you to hallow this place and allow only love and peace to enter. Hail and welcome.
I invite you to rise in body and spirit and join in singing our first hymn this morning, hymn number 1067 in the Teal hymnal, Mother Earth, Beloved Garden.
Our story for all ages this morning is a little bit long, but bear with me. It's called The Little Soul and the Sun, a children's parable by Neil Donald Walsh. Once upon no time, there was a little soul who said to God, "I know who I am." And God said, "Well, that's wonderful. Who are you?" And the little soul shouted, "I'm the light." God smiled a big smile. "That's right," God explained. "You are the light." The little soul was so happy that it figured out what all the souls in the kingdom were there to figure out. "Wow," said the little soul, excited. But soon, knowing who it was not enough. The little soul felt stirrings inside and now wanted to be who it was. And so the little soul went back to God and said, "Now that I know who I am, is it okay for me to be it?" And God said, "You mean you want to be who you really are?" "Well," replied the little soul, "it's one thing to know who I am, and another thing altogether to actually be it. I want to feel what it's like to be the light." "But you already are the light." "Yeah, but I want to see what that feels like," cried the little soul. "Well, I suppose I should have known. You always were the adventuresome one." Then God's expression changed. "There's only one thing." "What?" asked the little soul. "Well, there's nothing else but the light. You see, I created nothing but what you are. And so there is no easy way for you to experience yourself as who you are, since there is nothing that you're not." "Huh?" said the little soul, who was now a little confused. "Think of it this way. You are like a candle in the sun. Oh, you're there all right, along with trillions of other candles who make up the sun. And the sun would not be the sun without you. No, it would be a sun without one of its candles, and that would not be the sun at all, for it would not shine nearly as brightly. Yet how to know yourself as the light when you're amidst the light? That's the question." "Well," said the little soul, perking up, "you're God. Think of something." Once more God smiled. "I already have. Since you cannot see yourself as the light, when you are in the light, will surround you with darkness." "What's darkness?" asked the little soul. "It's that which you're not." "Will I be afraid of the dark?" "Only if you choose to be. There's nothing really to be afraid of, unless you decide that there is. You see, we're all making it up as we go along. We're pretending." "Oh," said the little soul. Felt a little better already. Then God explained that in order to experience anything at all, the exact opposite of it will appear. It is a great gift, because without it, you could not know what anything is like. You could not know warm without cold, up without down, fast without slow. You could not know left without right, here without there, now without then. And so, when you are surrounded by darkness, don't shake your fist and raise your voice and curse the darkness. Rather, be a light unto the darkness. Then you will know who you really are, and all others will know too. Let your light shine so that everyone will know how special you are." "You mean it's okay to let others know how special I am?" asked the little soul. "Of course. It's very okay. But remember, special does not mean better. Everybody is special, each in their own way, yet many others have forgotten that. They will see that it is okay for them to be special only when you see that it is okay for you to be special." "Wow," said the little soul, dancing and skipping and laughing and jumping with joy. "I can be as special as I want to be." "Yes, and you can start right now," said God, who was dancing and skipping and laughing right along with the little soul. "What part of special do you want to be?" "What part of special?" the little soul repeated. "I don't understand." "Well, being the light is being special, and being special has a lot of parts to it. It is special to be kind. It is special to be gentle. It is special to be creative. It is special to be patient. Can you think of any other ways it is to be special?" Little soul sat quietly for a moment. "I can think of lots of ways to be special," the little soul then exclaimed. "It is special to be helpful. It is special to be sharing. It is special to be friendly. You can be all of those things, or any part of special you wish to be at any moment. That's what it means to be the light. I know what I want to be. I know what I want to be, the little soul announced with great excitement. I want to be the part of special called forgiving. Isn't it special to be forgiving? Oh, yes, God assured the little soul. That is very special. Okay, said the little soul. That's what I want to be. I want to be forgiving. I want to experience myself as that. Good. But there's one thing you should know. The little soul was getting a little impatient now. It always seems as though there was some kind of complication. What is it now? Well, there's no one to forgive. No one? The little soul could hardly believe what had been said. No one. Everything I have made is perfect. There is not a single soul in all creation less perfect than you. Look around you. It was then that the little soul realized a large crowd had gathered. Souls had come from far and wide, from all over the world. For the word had gone forth that the little soul was having this extraordinary conversation, and everyone wanted to hear what they had to say. Looking at the countless souls gathered around, the little soul had to agree. None appeared less wonderful, less magnificent, or less perfect than the little soul itself. Such was the wonder of the souls gathered around, and so bright was their light that the little soul could scarcely gaze upon it. Who then to forgive? Asked God. Boy, this is going to be no fun at all, grumbled the little soul. I wanted to experience myself as one who forgives. I wanted to know that part of special, what it felt like. The little soul learned what it must have felt like to feel sad. But then a friendly soul stepped forward from the crowd. Not to worry, little soul, the friendly soul said. I'll help you. You will? The little soul brightened. But what can you do? Why, I can give you someone to forgive. You can? Certainly, chirped the little soul, the friendly soul. I can come into your next lifetime and do something for you to forgive. But why? Why would you do that? You who are a being of such utter perfection, you who vibrate with such a speed that it creates a light so bright that I can hardly gaze upon you. What could cause you to slow down to a speed that your bright light would come so dark and dense? What could cause you, who are so light that you dance upon the stars and move through the kingdom with the speed of your thought, to come into my life and make yourself so heavy that you could do this bad thing? Simple. I would do it because I love you. The little soul seemed surprised by that. Don't be so amazed, said the friendly soul. You have done the same thing for me. Don't you remember? Oh, we have danced together, you and I, many times. Through the eons and across the ages we have danced. Across all time and in many places we have played together. You just don't remember. We have both been all of it. We have been the up and the down of it, the left and the right of it. We have been the here and the there of it, the now and the then of it. We have been the male and the female, the good and the bad. We have been the victim and the villain of it. Thus we have come together, you and I, many times before, each bringing to the other the exact and perfect opportunity to express and to experience who we really are. And so, the friendly soul explained further, I will come into your next lifetime and be the bad one this time. I'll do something really terrible, and then you can experience yourself as the one who forgives. But what will you do? The little soul asked. Getting a little nervous. That'll be so terrible. Oh, replied the friendly soul with a twinkle. We'll think of something. Then the friendly soul seemed to turn serious and said in a quiet voice, You are right about one thing, though. What's that? The little soul wanted to know. I will have to slow down my vibration and become very heavy to do this not so nice thing. I will have to pretend to be something very unlike myself. And so I have one favor to ask of you in return. Oh, anything, anything, cried the little soul, and began to dance and sing, I get to be forgiving, I get to be forgiving. Then the little soul saw that the friendly soul was remaining very quiet. What is it? Asked the little soul. What can I do for you? You are such an angel to be willing to do this for me. Of course, this little soul is an angel. God interrupted. Everyone is. Always remember, I have sent you nothing but angels. And so the little soul wanted more than ever to grant the friendly soul's request. What can I do for you? The little soul asked again. In the moment that I strike you and smite you, the friendly soul replied. In the moment that I do the worst to you that you could possibly imagine, in that very moment. Yes? The little soul interrupted. Yes? Remember who I am. Oh, I will, cried the little soul. I remember. I will always remember you as I see you right here, right now. Good, said the friendly soul, because you see, I will have been pretending so hard, I will have forgotten myself. And if you don't remember who I really am, I may not be able to remember for a very long time. And if I forget who I am, you may even forget who you are, and we will both be lost. Then we will need another soul to come along and remind us both of who we are. No, we won't, the little soul promised again. I'll remember you, and I will thank you for bringing me this gift, the chance to experience myself as who I am. And so the agreement was made, and the little soul went forth into a new lifetime, excited to be the light, which was very special, and excited to be the part of special called forgiveness. And the little soul waited anxiously to be able to experience itself as forgiveness, and to thank whatever other soul made it possible. And at all the moments in that new lifetime, whenever a new soul appeared on the scene, whether that new soul brought joy or sadness, and especially if it brought sadness, the little soul thought of what God had said. Always remember, I have sent you nothing but angels.
Following our meditation and word, we will sit in silence for a minute, and then we will sing hymn number 193 in the gray hymnal. Our faith is but a single gem. You might wish to open your hymnal to the page now. Our meditation is the Litany Against Fear by Frank Herbert. I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death that brings total obliviation. I will face my fear. I will permit it to pass over me and through me. And then it has gone past. I will return the inner eye to see its path. Where the fear has gone, there will be nothing. Only I will remain. When I was young, my father used to take me hiking, fishing, and spending time in nature. He would tell me about how everything was alive, had a spirit, and that there was more than just what my mother and our church taught and spoke of. After he passed, I always remembered what he taught me. As I got older, I still saw and thought the same way, always feeling that there was something more out there. One day, I suffered a traumatic experience, and there was an image I didn't understand. As a teen, I realized what it was, that more I was seeking were the Norse gods. It was their pull I felt in everything I had experienced. I knew from then on how I lived my life was going to be on this path. After I graduated, I left home and I started to travel and went to many places, learning and studying, piecing together an understanding of who I was, what I believed. I took on the name Bull because many people in my tradition go by a different name, often related to an animal they feel connected to. I moved to Kansas City, Missouri, after meeting a man who called himself Wolf. He had a small group together. We built that small group into a large group, what we call a kindred. Our goal for that kindred was to be seen as a source of education and community. We began creating events like Heathen Trade Day, Frithgard, and Yule celebrations, eventually raising a temple, working on building bonds with other local religious communities, educating the greater community about heathenry, and standing against racism by joining other kindreds and the Country Against the AFA, one of the world's largest racist organizations in my religion. I did a number of public speaking events in and around Kansas City area and was interviewed on podcasts. I eventually left Missouri. Recognized as a leader in the heathen community, I became a Vikti, our name for a traveling shaman, and began traveling around the country: Minnesota, Texas, Kansas, Virginia, Florida, and many other states, from here to the Great Plains. I visited different heathen communities, helped to build kindreds and education for those interested in the ways of the old gods. I learned how different branches of the religion and how people worshiped, lived their lives, and more. I felt fulfilled in what I was doing for the community. But in time, I knew I had to return home, to where the journey began, to the island. So I came to Long Island. I've now begun the same work here as I have in those other places. Where Jason learned about... Oh,
He got excited. He kept wanting to read. Where Jason learned about and came into his faith through his father, I learned mine kind of ostensibly through my mother. I grew up at a time when my mom, after being excommunicated from the Catholic Church because my father left her, was on her own spiritual journey of discovery. She began learning about other faiths, trying to find her own spiritual home. She finally returned after a long search back to a pseudo-lapsed Christian status, but growing up this way had an indelible effect on me and my own personal spiritual experience. From early on, I'd been enamored with the stories of Greece and especially Egypt. Mom encouraged us to follow our hearts and find our own paths, We were encouraged to question everything, and it was her goal to make sure her kids were well-rounded and learned. So, like all kids my age, or around that time, my bedtime stories consisted primarily of mythology. At the time, I thought they were just stories, until one day I learned firsthand that there was more things in heaven and earth than were dreamt of in my philosophy. Thank you, Hamlet. My first direct interaction with deity comes from one of my oldest memories. I was on an overnight elementary school field trip to the Metropolitan Museum of Art. It was 6th grade, and we were excited to be allowed relatively free access to the whole museum after hours. This was back when you could do that sort of thing. Once the doors were closed to the public, we congregated in the main hall, unpacked our sleeping bags, and we were told that so long as we were with a buddy, we could go anywhere in the building. We had to check in with the chaperones stationed throughout the exhibits and couldn't touch anything, but otherwise we were left to our own devices. I excitedly hurried out the hall, and while I wanted to see the Greek statues, the beautiful facade of the Egyptian wing was where I was drawn to the most. We wandered through the exhibits for hours, reading the little cards and learning all we could about the pieces of art and sculpture on display. It was getting late, and we still hadn't gone to the Egyptian wing. None of the other students seemed as interested in dusty old mummies, except me. We were deep in the labyrinth of hallways when I saw a kid staring at a painting all by himself. I assumed he was one of the other classes and had gotten separated from his group. I went to talk to him and asked him where his group was. He said he wanted to go to the Egyptian wing, but no one else wanted to go, and he got lost. I perked up, because I did too. We decided to buddy up and go together. We split off from the group and, using the map in my pocket, found our way to the whole reason I was excited to come on this trip to begin with. We walked through the halls of the exhibit. I remember him being really knowledgeable about the different things we were looking at. He was equally impressed with how much I knew. We seemed to be playing a game of who knew more about what. Then we came upon the most amazing thing I'd ever seen, the Temple of Dendor. If you haven't been there to see it yourself, you should really go. It's amazing. We walked up the stone steps and entered into the ancient stone walls. I was so in awe of it, but it was then that something unexpected happened. He asked me if I wanted to see something no one else had, something secret and special. Of course I said yes. He placed his hand against the wall of the temple, and a doorway opened to a staircase leading downward. We walked for what felt like miles down a long staircase into a large room filled with giant pillars about the size of redwoods. The room seemed to go on forever, and he made to continue walking deeper into the gloom, but I got scared and I asked if we could go back. He said, "Let's just sit here for a while at this close pillar, and we can go back in a bit." We both sat down with our backs to the pillar and talked. I don't remember what we talked about, but I felt so at ease with him and talked for what felt like hours. It was just as we agreed to get up and head back before the adults got mad that I was shaken awake by one of the chaperones. I was laying on the floor in the middle of the Temple of Dendor. It must have been a dream, because the doorway was gone, and there was no little boy fitting the description of who I'd wandered off with in any of the classes. It was many years later, after I'd become a Wiccan priest, stepped away from the music major to get a degree in religious studies, get my master's in divination and cosmology, that I finally got to see my old friend again after all those years. It was during a deep meditation class where we were practicing lucid dreaming. The conditions were right, and I was once again in the great Temple of Pillars. And there, sitting beside the closest pillar, was the same young man, older now, but unmistakable. This time, though, I knew who he was, and we greeted each other as old friends. He showed me the way to come to this place at any time, and I learned that this was a place where I could find anyone, any god or goddess, any ancestor or spirit, if I had the will to find them. This was my sanctuary. This was my telesterion. And now I give that gift to others, those who wish to find their spirits, their ancestors. That's the meditations that I take them to, and I bring them to my telesterion.
Thank you both. It is our spiritual practice to share our plate offering 50-50 with an organization doing the work of justice in the world. In June, we asked the children and youth in our RE program to help us choose a worthy organization for the month of July. Their choice was Community Solidarity. Community Solidarity collects and shares produce and vegetarian groceries with thousands of people across Long Island. The organization has no warehouses, no tractor trailers, and no employees. It is truly a grassroots organization. By rescuing millions of pounds of fresh produce, they provide for the nutritional needs of over 6,500 people each week at locations on Long Island. Community Solidarity believes that food is a human right, not a privilege. They live into that vision every week at their food shares. If you are interested in learning more, Laura Lesh would love to talk to you about their work. Please give generously to this worthwhile organization. For those online, the link to donate is in the chat box. The offering will now be gratefully received.
True magic is not the miracles of prophets and sages, but the small acts of love and kindness of everyday people. May those gifts, offered freely without expectation of reward or profit, bring in some small part benefit to the world. Blessed be.
We Are One by Hope Johnson. We are one, a diverse group of proudly kindred spirits. Here not by coincidence. Here not by coincidence, but because we choose to journey together. We are active, proactive. We care deeply. We live our love as best we can. We are one, working, eating, laughing, playing, singing, storytelling, sharing, and rejoicing, getting to know each other, taking risks, opening up, questioning, seeking, searching, trying to understand, struggling, making mistakes, paying attention, asking questions, listening, living our answers, learning to love our neighbors, learning to love ourselves, apologizing, and forgiving with humility, and beginning forgiven through grace, creating our beloved community together. We are one.
I invite you to rise in body and spirit and join in singing our final hymn, number 323 in the Great Hymnal, Break Not the Circle.
Let there be beauty and strength, power and compassion, honor and humility, mirth and reverence within you. And you who seek to know me, know that your seeking and yearning shall avail you not, unless you know the mystery. For if that which you seek you find not within yourself, you will never find it without. For behold, I have been with you from the beginning, and I am that which is attained at the end of desire.
I invite everyone in the sanctuary to wave goodbye to the folks online.
Hail to all good spirits, beings, and ancestors. We thank you for your presence here and for your continued blessings in our lives. Stay if you will, go if you must. Hail and farewell.
So the last thing that we generally do in pagan tradition is we do a chant. It's in the order of service. We'll say the chant. I'll say it once. We can chant it 3 times, and then once we've done the 3rd time, the last part, just the merry meet, merry part, and merry meet again, will just be said by itself. The circle is open but unbroken. May the peace of the gods be ever in your hearts. Merry meet and merry part, and merry meet again. The circle is open but unbroken. Make the peace of the gods be ever in your heart. Merry meet and merry part, and merry meet again. The circle is open but unbroken. May the peace of the gods be ever in your heart. Merry meet and merry part, and merry meet again. Merry